October 1992, Diana's private doctor handed her a sealed envelope. Your blood test results. There's something unusual here. Diana opened it and froze. The medical report showed abnormal levels of heavy metals in her blood work. Levels that could only mean one thing. She was being systematically poisoned. Not dramatically, not lethally, but slowly, with small doses making her sick. When she confronted palace officials, they denied everything. But Diana kept the report, and what it revealed about palace medical practices would shock the world. Diana had been feeling unwell for months. It started in early 1992, occasional fatigue she attributed to stress from the separation. But as months passed, symptoms worsened. Constant exhaustion, pounding headaches, digestive problems, dizzy spells, memory lapses that frightened her. The palace physicians dismissed everything. It's stress from the separation, Your Royal Highness. Perfectly normal. When Diana insisted something was genuinely wrong, they suggested anxiety, depression, psychosomatic illness. Dr. Whitmore prescribed antidepressants. You need to calm down. But Diana trusted her body. She dealt with bulimia. She knew stress symptoms versus something physically wrong. This felt dangerous. By August, she was desperate. Palace doctors kept insisting nothing was wrong, but she was getting sicker. So in September 1992, Diana did something unprecedented. She went to see a private doctor outside the palace medical system, someone who owed no loyalty to the royal household. Dr. Sarah Chen was a respected internist in Harley Street who treated several high-profile patients with complete discretion. When Diana called her office using a friend's name, Dr. Chen agreed to see her after hours when the clinic was empty. I need a complete workup, Diana told her at that first appointment. Blood tests, everything. And I need you to tell me honestly what you find, not what someone else wants you to tell me. Dr. Chen studied Diana carefully, noting the dark circles, trembling hands, visible weight loss. Are you concerned palace doctors aren't being truthful? I'm concerned they answer to the palace first and to me second. Dr. Chen ordered comprehensive blood work, far more extensive than routine testing. Heavy metal screening, toxicology analysis, detailed metabolic workups. She sent samples to 3 different independent laboratories with instructions to run tests twice. 3 weeks later, Dr. Chen called Diana personally. I need to see you immediately. Don't come to the clinic. I'll meet you somewhere private. They met in a quiet tea room in Chelsea. Dr. Chen arrived carrying a folder pressed close to her chest, her expression grave. Diana, I need to ask some specific questions. Have you been taking any supplements not prescribed by palace doctors? No. Why? What did you find? Have you traveled? Anywhere you might have been exposed to industrial chemicals or contaminated water? No. Please just tell me what's wrong. Dr. Chen pulled out lab reports marked with red flags. Your blood shows significantly elevated levels of arsenic, mercury, and lead. Not immediately life-threatening, but consistently elevated. I had tests run 3 times by 3 different labs. All 9 results came back with the same findings. Diana gripped the table. What does that mean? It means chronic, deliberate, low-level poisoning over several months. This isn't accidental. Are you saying I'm being poisoned? I'm saying your body contains levels of toxic heavy metals that shouldn't be there. How they got there is a question I can't answer medically. Diana stared at the lab reports, her mind racing. Could it be from food? From water? Possible, but unlikely. The combination of metals and the consistent levels suggest deliberate contamination of something you consume regularly, something only you consume, or something prepared specifically for you. Diana thought about her daily routine at Kensington Palace. Her meals were prepared by palace kitchens, but she ate the same food as her staff and her children. Her tea, though, she had special herbal tea blends prepared just for her, supposedly to help with stress and sleep. My tea, Diana said quietly. I drink special herbal tea throughout the day. It's prepared in the palace kitchen specifically for me. Do you know what's in it? I was told it's chamomile, valerian, and other calming herbs. It's supposed to help with my anxiety. Dr. Chen made notes. Diana, I need you to bring me samples of this tea. Don't let anyone know you're taking it. And in the meantime, stop drinking it immediately. But if I suddenly stop, won't that alert whoever... Diana couldn't finish the sentence. Whoever was poisoning her. You're right. Continue your normal routine, but try to dispose of the tea without actually drinking it. Pour it out when no one's watching. We need to maintain appearances while we figure out what's happening. Over 2 weeks, Diana secretly collected tea samples from different batches and days, wearing gloves, sealing each in sterile containers. She delivered them to Dr. Chen in different locations each time to avoid palace security noticing patterns. The toxicology lab results came back. Dr. Chen's voice shook. Diana, all samples contained deliberate contamination, arsenic trioxide, mercury compounds, lead acetate. These are pure chemicals someone added. Concentrations calculated to make you chronically ill, but avoid acute poisoning that would be obvious. This is sophisticated, systematic poisoning. Diana sat in her study, phone pressed to her ear, reality shifting. Someone had been poisoning her slowly, methodically, while palace doctors gaslit her into thinking she was imagining things. I can't answer that. But I can tell you that in my 30 years of practice, I've never seen anything like this outside of documented murder attempts. Diana, you need to go to the police. I can't. Do you understand what would happen if I accused someone at the palace of poisoning me? They'd say I'm paranoid, unstable, having a mental breakdown. They'd use it to take my children away. Then what are you going to do? I'm going to find out who's doing this, and I'm going to make sure it stops. Diana began documenting everything. She kept detailed notes of who prepared her tea, recording names and times. She photographed delivery schedules, copied kitchen logs when she could access them discreetly. What she discovered clarified everything. Her tea wasn't prepared by general kitchen staff. It was prepared by Mrs. Thornton, a senior staff member with 20 years at the palace, known for absolute loyalty. Mrs. Thornton prepared Diana's tea separately using special herbs, kept locked in dedicated storage. But Mrs. Thornton received the herbs directly from Dr. Whitmore, the same doctor who'd been dismissing Diana's symptoms while prescribing antidepressants, the same doctor who'd assured her nothing was wrong while she was being poisoned. Diana arranged to accidentally run into Dr. Whitmore in the palace corridors one afternoon. She'd planned the encounter carefully, timing it when he'd be walking from the medical office to his car. Dr. Whitmore, I wanted to thank you for arranging my special herbal tea. It's been very helpful with my stress. He looked pleased, completely unaware. I'm glad to hear that, Your Royal Highness. We want to do everything we can to support your wellness during this difficult time. What exactly is in the blend? I've been curious about the specific herbs. I'd like to know what's helping me so much. Dr. Whitmore's expression shifted slightly, becoming more guarded. Oh, various calming herbs. Chamomile, valerian, some proprietary blends from trusted suppliers. Nothing to worry about. Proprietary blends from where? Which suppliers? From medical suppliers we've used for years. Very reputable, all properly vetted. Could I see the specifications? I'd like to know exactly what I'm consuming every day. I don't think that's necessary, Your Royal Highness. Dr. Whitmore, I'm asking to see the medical specifications for something I've been drinking daily for months. Surely that's a reasonable request from a patient. He looked distinctly uncomfortable now, shifting his weight. I'll have to check with the Palace Medical Committee about releasing that information. There are protocols about patient access to formulation details. The committee needs to approve my access to information about my own medical treatment. It's just protocol, Your Royal Highness. Standard procedure for all customized medical preparations. I'm sure you understand. Diana knew she wouldn't get the information through official channels, so she took a different, more risky approach. She contacted Michael Stevens, a private investigator she'd used before for surveillance work during the separation. He was discreet, thorough, and importantly, had no connections to the royal household. I need you to find out who's supplying certain herbal compounds to the palace medical staff. I need to know where they're coming from and who authorized the orders. Can you do that without alerting anyone at the palace? Michael studied her carefully. This is sensitive. If palace security finds out I'm investigating their suppliers, there could be complications. I understand the risks, but I need this information. It's literally a matter of life and death. All right. Give me 2 weeks. The investigator came back with information that made Diana's blood run cold. The proprietary herb blend wasn't coming from any reputable medical supplier. It wasn't coming from a company that specialized in herbal remedies or pharmaceutical-grade supplements. It was coming from a private chemistry laboratory in Switzerland that specialized in creating customized chemical compounds for pharmaceutical research. A lab that had the capability and equipment to synthesize pure chemical toxins. And the orders weren't being placed by Dr. Whitmore directly. They were being authorized using codes that trace back to the Queen's private secretary's office, one of the most senior administrative positions in the entire royal household. Someone at that level, someone with direct access to the highest levels of palace decision-making, had been ordering chemical compounds disguised as herbal supplements. Diana sat with this information for 3 days, trying to decide what to do. If someone in the Queen's private secretary's office was involved, this went far beyond just palace doctors or overzealous staff. This was institutional. This was the palace itself at the highest levels, making a decision that her progressive illness served some purpose. Whether it was to make her seem unstable for custody battles, to weaken her influence, or simply to remove a problem they couldn't otherwise control, the motive almost didn't matter. What mattered was that the institution had decided she needed to be silenced, and they'd chosen poison as their method. She decided to confront the Queen directly, to force the issue into the open where it couldn't be quietly managed and buried. She requested a private audience through formal channels, making it clear this wasn't negotiable. I need to see Her Majesty urgently regarding a matter of personal safety. Just the two of us. No staff, no courtiers, no official record. The meeting was granted within 24 hours, itself unusual enough to confirm that someone understood the gravity of what Diana had discovered. "Ma'am, I need to show you something." Diana handed the Queen a folder containing Dr. Chen's medical reports, the toxicology analysis of the tea, and the investigator's findings. The Queen read through the documents slowly, her expression becoming increasingly troubled. "Diana, these are serious accusations." "They're documented facts, ma'am. Someone has been poisoning me through my tea for months, possibly longer. The orders are coming from within your private secretary's office." "That's impossible. My staff would never." "Then how do you explain the medical evidence? How do you explain the toxicology reports showing that tea prepared in your palace kitchens contains arsenic and mercury?" The Queen was quiet for a long moment. "If what you're saying is true, do you have any idea who would want to do this?" "I think you know who, ma'am. I think you know exactly who would benefit from me becoming progressively more ill, more unstable, more obviously unfit to be the mother of future kings." The Queen's face showed genuine shock. "Diana, if you're suggesting Charles—" "I'm not suggesting anything. I'm showing you medical evidence that I've been systematically poisoned, and the authorization came from your senior staff. Draw your own conclusions." The Queen stood and walked to the window. "What do you want?" "I want it to stop. I want an investigation into who ordered these chemical compounds and why, and I want assurance that my food and drink will no longer be tampered with. If I authorize an investigation, it will become known. The scandal is less important than my life, ma'am. Someone has been slowly poisoning the Princess of Wales. That's not a scandal you can suppress." The Queen turned back to face Diana. "Give me 72 hours. I'll handle this quietly. You have my word that whoever is responsible will be removed from their position. But Diana, you cannot go public with this. The institution—" "Cannot survive the truth?" Diana finished. "Ma'am, I'm tired of protecting the institution that's been trying to destroy me. But I'll give you 72 hours. After that, I'm taking these reports to the press." True to her word, the Queen acted quickly. Within 48 hours, several senior palace staff members were quietly reassigned or took early retirement. Dr. Whitmore was removed from his position as head of the royal medical household and replaced with an independent physician from outside the royal circle. The special herbal tea was discontinued. Diana was assigned a new personal protection officer who reported directly to her, not to palace security. Kitchen protocols were changed so that her food was prepared separately and sealed before delivery. But the Queen never told Diana who had authorized the poisoning. She never confirmed whether Charles was involved or whether it had been overzealous palace officials acting on their own. Diana was left with her medical evidence and her suspicions, but no definitive answers about who had tried to kill her. Diana kept copies of all the medical reports, the toxicology analyses, and the investigators' findings in multiple secure locations. She wrote a letter to her lawyer instructing that if she died unexpectedly, these documents should be released to the press immediately. "If something happens to me," she told her lawyer, "I want people to know that it wasn't an accident. I want them to know that someone in the palace tried to poison me in 1992 and that the royal family covered it up." Over the following months, Diana's health improved dramatically. The headaches disappeared, her energy returned, her digestive problems resolved. It was clear that whatever had been in that tea had been making her genuinely ill, but the psychological impact never fully healed. Diana lived with the knowledge that someone, possibly her own husband, possibly his supporters in the palace, had tried to slowly poison her, that the institution she'd married into valued her silence more than her life. She became obsessed with food safety. She insisted on watching her meals being prepared. She drank only bottled water that she opened herself. She never accepted food or drink from anyone she didn't completely trust. Her staff thought she was being paranoid. Palace officials whispered that Diana was becoming increasingly unstable, but Diana knew the truth. She'd survived a murder attempt and she needed to stay vigilant. Years later, after Diana's death, some of those medical reports became public through various leaks. Toxicologists confirmed that the heavy metal levels documented in Diana's blood in 1992 were consistent with deliberate poisoning. The herbal tea analysis proved that someone had contaminated her daily beverage with toxic compounds, but the question of who ordered it was never officially answered. The palace maintained that any contamination must have been accidental. The staff members who were quietly removed were never publicly named or questioned. The authorization codes that traced back to the Queen's private secretary's office were dismissed as administrative errors. Diana's 1992 medical crisis became another royal mystery, documented, verified, but never fully explained. Like so much about her life within the palace walls, the truth was hidden behind layers of institutional protection and plausible deniability. But Diana had known. From the moment Dr. Chen showed her those blood test results, she'd known that someone wanted her sick, weakened, or possibly dead, and she'd lived the rest of her life with that knowledge, always watching, always careful, always aware that the greatest threats didn't come from outside the palace walls. They came from within. The secret medical report from 1992 revealed something the palace never wanted acknowledged. Princess Diana had been the target of a systematic poisoning attempt. The toxicology evidence was irrefutable. The authorization trail led to senior palace officials, and the sudden improvement in her health once the poisoning stopped proved it had been real. Sometimes the most dangerous secrets aren't about affairs or scandals. Sometimes they're about deliberate attempts to silence someone who knew too much, who was too independent, who threatened the careful order of an institution that valued control above all else. Diana's medical report from 1992 wasn't just documentation of poisoning, it was proof that the palace saw her as an enemy to be eliminated rather than a princess to be protected. And that truth, more than any other, explains why Diana lived her final years in fear of the very institution that had promised to keep her safe.